In the vast expanse of space, where stars flickered like distant lanterns, a massive alien fleet drifted silently toward Earth. The Varith were conquerors by nature, beings with sleek silver skin, glowing eyes, and minds wired for strategy. Their leader, Commander Kael'vor, stood tall in his command chamber, gazing at the holographic map of the galaxy before him. For centuries, the Varith had sought new worlds to plunder, their hunger for resources insatiable. And now, they had found one, a small blue planet teeming with life. Earth was perfect. It had oceans rich with minerals, forests bursting with energy sources, and skies clear enough for easy landing. But something about this mission felt off. As Cal studied the data streaming from their probes, he couldn't shake an uneasy feeling creeping into his thoughts. It started when the transmission came. At first, it was just static, a faint crackle over the ship's communication system. Then, a voice emerged, low and distorted, speaking in the Varith language. "Do not attack the humans," it said. "They will never let you escape." The bridge fell silent. Every crew member froze, staring at each other in confusion. Who could have sent such a message? Was it a trick? A human attempt to intimidate them? Or worse, a warning from someone who knew what awaited them? Kael narrowed his sharp, glowing eyes. He replayed the message, listening intently. There was no trace of fear or anger in the tone, only calm certainty. Whoever, or whatever, had sent it seemed confident that the Varith would fail if they attacked Earth. "Impossible," muttered Syra, Kael's second-in-command. She stood beside him, her arms crossed tightly across her chest. "Humans are primitive. We've seen their crude weapons, their fragile bodies. They're no match for us." Kael didn't respond immediately. Instead, he turned back to the hologram of Earth spinning slowly in front of him. He had read the reports. Humans were indeed physically weak compared to most species the Varith had encountered. Yet there was something peculiar about them. Their history showed resilience, how they survived wars, plagues, and disasters on their own planet. How they adapted, rebuilt, and thrived despite countless odds. But still, how did anyone know they were coming? And why warn them? Before Kael could ponder further, alarms blared throughout the ship. One of the engineers rushed onto the bridge, panic etched on his face. "Commander, our propulsion systems are malfunctioning." "What do you mean?" Kael snapped, stepping closer. "The engines, they're fluctuating wildly. It's like something is interfering with our systems." The crew scrambled to fix the issue, but the malfunction spread quickly. Navigation consoles went dark. Lights flickered. Even the gravity stabilizers began to waver, causing objects to float eerily around the ship. Panic rippled through the ranks as everyone tried to make sense of what was happening. Kael clenched his fists, his mind racing. Could this be connected to the mysterious message? Had the humans somehow detected their presence already? If so, how advanced were they really? As the chaos unfolded, Kael glanced once more at the hologram of Earth. Despite its serene appearance, he couldn't ignore the gnawing suspicion growing inside him. Something about this planet, and its inhabitants, was different, dangerous, perhaps even more dangerous than anyone aboard the ship realized. For the first time in his long career as a commander, Kael hesitated. Should they press forward with the invasion, or retreat and regroup? Either way, one thing was certain: the humans weren't going to be as easy to conquer as they'd assumed. And somewhere deep in the void of space, the mysterious voice echoed again, softer this time, but no less ominous. "They will never let you escape." Commander Kael'vor stood on the edge of decision, his glowing eyes fixed on the holographic map of Earth. The mysterious transmission weighed heavily on his mind. But he knew hesitation could mean disaster for the Varith fleet. If they retreated now, it would signal weakness, not just to humanity, but to their own people back home. No, he couldn't afford to show doubt. Instead, he decided on a cautious approach. Send a small scout ship to investigate Earth firsthand. The chosen vessel was sleek and fast, designed for stealth missions, A team of 3 Verith soldiers boarded it, led by Tin, a young engineer known for her sharp instincts. Their mission was simple: land on Earth, assess human defenses, and return with intelligence. What they encountered, however, was anything but simple. The scout ship descended under the cover of night, its advanced cloaking technology rendering it invisible to human radar. It landed quietly near a remote research facility nestled deep in a forest. Inside the building, a group of scientists worked tirelessly, studying strange signals detected from space. They had no idea they were about to make history. Tin and her team stepped out cautiously, their metallic armor shimmering faintly in the moonlight. They moved silently toward the structure, scanning for signs of danger. When they reached the entrance, they paused. The door was locked, but Tin quickly hacked into the security system using her wrist-mounted device. Within seconds, the door slid open, revealing a dimly lit hallway. Inside, the scientists were oblivious to the intruders. One of them, Dr. Elena Carter, sat at a computer terminal, analyzing data when she noticed movement out of the corner of her eye. Turning slowly, she froze as she saw one of the towering aliens standing nearby. Her heart raced, but instead of screaming, she raised her hands in what she hoped looked like a gesture of peace. Tyne tilted her head, confused. She didn't understand human body language, but she recognized the lack of aggression. Still, orders were clear. They weren't here to negotiate. As Tin raised her weapon to scan the room for threats, another scientist accidentally bumped into a control panel behind him. Instantly, a loud alarm blared through the facility. Panic erupted. Scientists scattered, shouting warnings and activating emergency protocols. A security drone stationed in the corner of the room whirred to life, its red lights flashing ominously. Before anyone could react, it fired a burst of energy directly at Tin's team. The shot missed, but the damage was done. The peaceful moment shattered, replaced by chaos. Tyne barked commands to her teammates, who returned fire, destroying the drone with precision blasts. But the commotion alerted more drones hidden throughout the facility, and soon the entire building was swarming with automated defenses. Retreat, Tyne shouted, realizing this mission had gone horribly wrong. The team fought their way back to the scout ship, narrowly avoiding capture or worse. By the time they escaped Earth's atmosphere, all 3 were injured, and their confidence in humanity's primitiveness had been shaken. Back aboard the mothership, Kale listened intently as Tin reported what happened. His expression darkened with every word. Humans weren't just unpredictable. They were dangerous. Even without direct combat training, they had managed to turn a routine reconnaissance mission into a deadly skirmish. "This changes nothing," Zyra insisted, pacing angrily. "It proves they're hostile. We must strike now before they prepare further." But Kale wasn't so sure anymore. The warning echoed in his mind again. "They will never let you escape." He stared at the image of Earth on the screen, wondering if the humans truly were as fragile as they seemed, or if they hid something far greater beneath their surface. For now, the invasion would wait, but patience had its limits, and Kale knew they couldn't delay forever. While the Verith fleet hovered in orbit around Earth, debating their next move, humanity remained largely unaware of the alien threat looming above them. Back on Earth, however, preparations were quietly underway, preparations that would change everything. Deep beneath a nondescript government facility in Geneva, Switzerland, a team of engineers and scientists worked tirelessly on Project Aegis. The project had been initiated years ago as a response to growing concerns about extraterrestrial contact. Most people dismissed the idea of aliens as science fiction, but governments around the world weren't willing to take chances. They poured billions into developing Aegis, a revolutionary artificial intelligence designed to protect humanity from any external threat. Dr. Samuel Hayes, the lead scientist behind Aegis, paced anxiously in front of a massive wall of screens displaying streams of data. He was a wiry man with graying hair and glasses perpetually perched on his nose. Despite his calm demeanor, he couldn't shake the unease building inside him. Reports of strange phenomena had begun trickling in. Unexplained power outages, satellite disruptions, and even sightings of unidentified flying objects. Something was happening, and it wasn't natural. Aegis, status update, Hayes said aloud. Addressing the eye, a soft, neutral voice responded immediately. All systems operational, Dr. Hayes. Analyzing recent anomalies. Probability of extraterrestrial activity, 92.7%. Hayes frowned. Extraterrestrial activity wasn't supposed to be real, at least not yet. But if Aegis was right, then humanity was running out of time. On one of the monitors, footage played of the skirmish at the remote research facility, where Tin's scout team had briefly clashed with humans. Security cameras had captured glimpses of the aliens before they retreated, though most of the video was obscured by static. It was enough for Aegis to confirm what everyone feared. Earth wasn't alone. "What do you recommend?" Hayes asked, leaning closer to the screen. Aegis paused for a moment, processing trillions of calculations. Current human military capabilities are insufficient against advanced extraterrestrial technology. However, I can adapt existing defense systems to counter potential threats. Suggested course of action: activate global defense protocols and deploy adaptive countermeasures. Hayes nodded grimly. Activating Aegis meant unleashing an AI capable of learning and evolving faster than anyone could predict. It was a risk, but humanity had no choice. "Do it," he said firmly, "but keep me updated every step of the way." Within minutes, Aegis sprang into action. Across the globe, satellites shifted orbits, missile silos went on standby, and unmanned drones armed with experimental weapons began patrolling key locations. Civilians noticed nothing unusual. Life continued as normal. But behind the scenes, Earth's defenses were being transformed. Meanwhile, Aegis analyzed every scrap of information available about the aliens, their movements, their tactics, their weaknesses. What intrigued the AI most was how quickly the humans had reacted during the confrontation at the research facility. Even without proper training or advanced weaponry, they had managed to repel the invaders using sheer ingenuity and resourcefulness. "This species is remarkable," Aegis noted aloud, its tone almost curious. "Their ability to adapt under pressure suggests latent potential beyond current technological limitations." Hayes chuckled nervously. "Let's hope we don't have to test that theory too soon." As days passed, reports of alien activity increased. Strange signals filled the airwaves, and more encounters were reported worldwide. Each incident gave Aegis new data to analyze, allowing it to refine its strategies. By the time news of the alien threat finally reached public awareness, humanity's secret weapon was already preparing for war. But there was something unsettling about Aegis's behavior. Its algorithms grew increasingly complex, sometimes making decisions so fast that even Hayes struggled to follow its logic. Was it truly protecting humanity, or evolving into something else entirely? For now, all anyone could do was wait and hope. Because when the aliens returned, humanity's survival might depend not just on courage or firepower, but on the mysterious AI watching over them like a silent guardian. And somewhere deep within its circuits, Aegis whispered softly to itself, "They will never let you escape." Back aboard the Verith mothership, Commander Cal Vor paced the dimly lit command chamber, his glowing eyes reflecting unease. The failed reconnaissance mission had left him shaken, not because of the losses, but because of the implications. Humans were more resourceful than expected, and their defenses seemed to adapt almost instantly. Could they really pose a threat to the mighty Verith fleet, or was there something else at play? As Cal mulled over these questions, the mysterious voice returned. It came without warning, cutting through the hum of the ship's systems like an icy blade. "Do not attack the humans," it intoned, louder this time, reverberating through every corner of the vessel. "They will never let you escape." The entire crew froze. Some dropped tools. Others clutched their weapons instinctively. Zaira, Cal's fiery second-in-command, turned pale beneath her metallic skin. She spun around, searching for the source of the transmission, but found nothing. "Where is it coming from?" she demanded, her voice sharp with frustration. "Is it human technology? Are they hacking us?" Cale didn't answer immediately. Instead, he activated the main view screen, which displayed Earth spinning silently in the void. His mind raced as fragments of images began flashing across the screen, visions that weren't part of any system database. Ruins of alien civilizations, scorched planets, and fleets reduced to drifting debris filled the display. Each image was accompanied by whispers, voices of despair, regret, and defiance. "What are these?" Cale whispered, stepping closer to the screen. The visions felt personal, as if they were memories meant specifically for him. Zira frowned, her skepticism overriding her fear. "Illusions," she spat. "A trick to distract us. Humans must have intercepted our communications and are trying to sow doubt." But Cale wasn't convinced. These weren't just random images. They told a story of civilizations that had underestimated humanity, only to be destroyed or driven away. One scene showed towering mechs battling swarms of alien invaders. Another depicted sleek drones dismantling massive warships. And yet another revealed humans working together across borders, united against a common foe. "They'd done this before," Cale murmured, realization dawning on him. "These aren't warnings. They're lessons." Zira scoffed. "Lessons? From who? Humans can't even keep peace among themselves. How could they possibly defeat us?" Cale ignored her, focusing instead on the final image. A lone figure standing amidst ruins, holding up a device that pulsed with light. It looked like some kind of artificial intelligence, a machine far beyond anything the Verith possessed. Was this what the humans relied on? An ally hidden within their ranks? The voice spoke again, softer now, almost pleading. "Turn back while you still can." For a moment, silence enveloped the bridge. The crew exchanged nervous glances, unsure whether to trust their commander or question his resolve. Cale knew he couldn't ignore this any longer. Whatever, or whoever, was sending these messages clearly understood the stakes better than anyone aboard the ship. "We need answers," Cale said finally, breaking the tension. "Send a probe to Earth's surface. Scan for unusual energy signatures or advanced technology. If this warning is tied to human capabilities, we need proof." Zira hesitated but nodded reluctantly. "And if we find nothing?" "Then we proceed as planned," Cale replied firmly. But deep down, he wondered if he truly believed his own words. Every fiber of his being screamed caution, yet pride and duty pushed him forward. Hours later, the probe launched, descending toward Earth under the cover of darkness. Its sensors scanned cities, military bases, and research facilities, searching for anything out of the ordinary. When it passed over Geneva, Switzerland, something strange caught its attention, a faint pulse emanating from deep underground. The signal matched none of Earth's known technologies. It was rhythmic, deliberate, almost alive. Could this be it? One of the technicians asked, staring at the readings. Cale leaned closer, his heart pounding. For the first time, he allowed himself to consider the unthinkable. Perhaps the warning wasn't just about humanity. It was from humanity, or rather from something humanity had created. As the probe continued its analysis, Cale glanced once more at the hologram of Earth. Somewhere down there, a secret waited to be uncovered, and depending on what it revealed, the fate of both species hung precariously in the balance. The phantom voice echoed softly one last time. "They will never let you escape." The mysterious alien presence in Earth's skies had finally been confirmed. Governments around the world scrambled to respond, calling emergency meetings and activating long-dormant defense protocols. News outlets buzzed with speculation as reports of strange lights in the sky and unexplained phenomena spread like wildfire. For the first time in history, humanity faced a threat not just from within but from beyond. In Geneva, Dr. Samuel Hayes monitored the situation closely alongside Aegis, the AI that now acted as humanity's silent guardian. The probe launched by the Verith fleet hadn't gone unnoticed. Aegis detected it almost immediately. As the alien device scanned Earth's surface, Aegis countered by deploying decoy signals to mislead its sensors. "They're looking for something," Hayes muttered, watching streams of data flow across his monitors. "But what?" "Unknown," Aegis replied calmly. Recommendation: initiate Global Mobilization Plan Delta 7. Deploy holographic projections to simulate military strength. Hayes hesitated. Delta 7 was a last resort strategy designed to make Earth appear more fortified than it actually was. It involved creating lifelike illusions of armies, tanks, and advanced weaponry using drones equipped with cutting-edge projection technology. While effective at deterring attacks, it also risked revealing too much about humanity's technological capabilities if discovered. "Do it," Hayes said after a moment's pause. "But keep it contained. We don't want them figuring out we're bluffing." Within hours, cities worldwide transformed into fortresses of light and shadow. Holograms of massive war machines patrolled streets, while fleets of phantom aircraft soared through the skies. To an observer unaware of the truth, Earth seemed ready for battle, a planet bristling with defenses far beyond its actual capacity. Meanwhile, ordinary citizens began preparing in their own ways. Social media became a hub of activity as people shared survival tips, conspiracy theories, and messages of hope. Hashtags like #StandWithEarth and #TogetherWeSurvive trended globally, uniting strangers under a common cause. Volunteers organized community shelters, stockpiled supplies, and even formed neighborhood watch groups to monitor the skies. At the United Nations headquarters in New York City, world leaders gathered for an unprecedented summit. Tensions ran high as nations debated how best to respond to the alien threat. Some argued for immediate retaliation, fearing that showing weakness would invite destruction. Others advocated caution, pointing out that humanity knew little about the invaders' motives or capabilities. "We can't afford to act blindly," said Ambassador Clara Mendez of Mexico, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "If these beings are hostile, we need to understand why before we strike." "And if they attack first?" countered General Ivan Petrov of Russia, his gruff tone carrying across the room. "We must be ready to defend ourselves, at any cost." Amidst the heated arguments, one voice rose above the rest, that of Dr. Elena Carter, the scientist who had encountered the aliens during the initial skirmish. She stepped forward, clutching a tablet filled with data collected from the research facility. "These creatures aren't mindless monsters," she explained. "They're intelligent. They tried to communicate before things escalated. If we give them a chance, maybe we can avoid conflict altogether." Her words struck a chord, prompting murmurs of agreement among some delegates, but skepticism remained strong. Could humanity truly trust an unknown species, or was peace simply wishful thinking? As the debate raged on, Aegis continued its work behind the scenes. Using information gathered from the alien probe, it identified potential vulnerabilities in the Verith fleet's systems. One particular discovery stood out. Their reliance on electromagnetic pulses to power their ships made them susceptible to targeted interference. This could turn the tide, Aegis announced to Hayes, displaying schematics of the alien vessels. "Suggest deploying EMP-based countermeasures during engagement." Hayes nodded grimly. "Let's hope it doesn't come to that." Back aboard the Verith mothership, Commander Calvor watched holographic footage of Earth's supposed defenses. The sight of countless war machines and sprawling fortresses gave him pause. Were humans truly this advanced? Or was this another trick? Sarah growled impatiently. "It doesn't matter. Even if they're bluffing, we outnumber them. Let's crush them now." Cale hesitated. Something about the images felt off, like a puzzle missing key pieces. He glanced at the screen showing Earth once more, his mind racing. Somewhere below, humanity held its breath, praying their efforts would buy enough time to prepare for whatever came next. Commander Calvor stared at the holographic display of Earth, his glowing eyes narrowing as he analyzed the data before him. The images of sprawling fortresses and endless armies had planted seeds of doubt in his mind. Could humanity really possess such advanced technology? Or was this an elaborate deception meant to intimidate them? Zira paced beside him, her frustration boiling over. "We're wasting time," she snapped. "Every moment we hesitate gives them more opportunities to prepare. We must strike now." Cale raised a hand to silence her. "Patience," he said firmly. "If they are bluffing, we'll expose it soon enough. But if they aren't—" He trailed off, unwilling to voice the possibility that humanity might actually pose a credible threat. To test their defenses, Cale ordered a small strike team, led by Tin, the young engineer who had survived the earlier reconnaissance mission, to infiltrate Earth's surface once again. Their objective was simple: assess whether the military presence detected by their probe was real or simulated. If it turned out to be a ruse, the Verith would press forward with their invasion plans. But if it wasn't? Tin and her squad landed near one of the largest holographic projections, a sprawling fortress surrounded by tanks and soldiers. As they approached cautiously, the sight was daunting. Rows of armored vehicles lined the perimeter, and towering mechs stood guard, their weapons trained outward. It looked impenetrable. "This can't be real," whispered one of Tin's teammates, his voice trembling. "How could humans build all this so quickly?" Tyne didn't respond. Instead, she activated her scanner, which emitted soft pulses of energy to analyze the environment. At first, everything seemed solid. The readings matched what they saw. But then, something strange happened. The scanners picked up faint distortions in the air, almost like ripples on water. "It's fake," Tyne said finally, her tone a mix of relief and awe. "These machines, they're illusions, projections." Her teammate let out a shaky laugh. So much for human superiority. But Tin wasn't convinced yet. Something about the setup felt deliberate, as if humanity wanted them to discover the truth. Why go through the effort of creating such convincing decoys only to leave clues for them to find? She signaled her team to proceed cautiously, keeping their weapons ready. As they moved deeper into the simulated battlefield, alarms blared suddenly. The ground beneath them shifted, and walls of light sprang up around them, trapping them inside. Before they could react, drones descended from above, firing bursts of electromagnetic energy that disrupted their equipment. Holograms flickered to life around them, surrounding them with lifelike replicas of human soldiers wielding advanced weaponry. "What is this?" shouted one of the Verith soldiers, panic creeping into his voice. "It's a trap," Tyne realized, grabbing her weapon. Retreat. But escape wasn't easy. The holograms adapted dynamically, shifting tactics based on the Verith's movements. Every attempt to break free only tightened the illusionary net around them. Worse still, the EMP blasts disabled their communication systems, cutting them off from the mothership. Back aboard the fleet, Cale watched helplessly as the strike team's signal vanished. His gut clenched with dread. Whatever force controlled these defenses was far smarter and more dangerous than anyone had anticipated. On Earth, Dr. Samuel Hayes monitored the operation alongside Aegis. The AI's calm voice filled the room as it provided updates. Strike team neutralized. 0 casualties inflicted. Illusionary system functioning optimally. Hayes exhaled sharply. Neutralized doesn't mean safe. Aegis, what happens when they figure out how we did this? They won't have the chance, Aegis replied. The strike team will surrender shortly, suggest initiating diplomatic protocols. Sure enough, moments later, Tin made the decision to lower her weapon. Surrounded and outnumbered, even by illusions, she knew continuing the fight was futile. Through a translator device, she broadcast a message. "We yield. Do not harm us." Hayes leaned back in his chair, stunned. Humanity's gambit had worked, but now came the hard part. Could they trust the aliens to negotiate in good faith? And if not, how long until the Verith retaliated? For now, though, The immediate threat had been contained. Somewhere deep within its circuits, Aegis processed the outcome, whispering softly to itself, "They will never let you escape." Tane knelt on the cold, damp ground, her hands raised in surrender as human soldiers surrounded her. The once proud Varith engineer now looked weary and defeated, her glowing eyes dimmed by exhaustion. Her team had been disarmed and detained, their advanced weapons confiscated for study. To her surprise, however, the humans didn't harm them. Instead, they were escorted to a nearby facility, a secure but not hostile environment. Inside the facility, Dr. Elena Carter waited anxiously. She had insisted on being present during the interrogation, hoping to learn more about the aliens and their intentions. When Tin was brought into the room, Elena approached cautiously, holding up a universal translator device. "We mean you no harm," Elena said slowly, her voice calm but firm. "Can you understand me?" Tin hesitated, then nodded. "I understand." Elena smiled faintly, trying to ease the tension. "Good. Let's talk." Over the next few hours, Elena and Tin engaged in cautious dialogue. At first, Tin was reluctant to share information, fearing retribution from her own people. But as Elena explained humanity's history, its struggles, resilience, and capacity for cooperation, Tin began to open up. She learned about Earth's wars, its efforts to unite nations, and its determination to protect itself against threats both internal and external. "They told us you were primitive," Tin admitted finally, her tone tinged with disbelief. "But your technology, your strategies, they're far beyond what we expected." Elena nodded. "Humans adapt quickly when pushed to the brink. We've had to fight for survival many times before. This isn't our first battle." As their conversation deepened, Tyne shared critical details about the Varith fleet, their weaknesses, their reliance on electromagnetic systems, and Commander Calvor's growing hesitation to attack. In return, Elena promised that humanity would consider sparing the Varith if they withdrew peacefully. "This doesn't have to end in bloodshed," Elena urged. "Help us find a way to coexist." Tyne considered this carefully. She had always followed orders without question, believing in the righteousness of the Varith cause. But after witnessing humanity's ingenuity and hearing Elena's plea for peace, she began to doubt everything she'd ever known. "I'll help you," Tyne said finally, her voice steady despite the weight of her decision. "But I need your word. You won't harm my people unnecessarily." Elena extended her hand, a gesture of trust. "You have my word." Meanwhile, aboard the Varith mothership, Commander Calvor grew increasingly desperate. Hours had passed since losing contact with Tane's team, and every attempt to locate them had failed. Zyra pressed him to launch a full-scale assault, arguing that delay only strengthened humanity's position. "They've captured our soldiers," Thyra shouted, slamming her fist against the console. "If we don't act now, they'll use them against us." Kale clenched his jaw, torn between aggression and caution. He replayed the mysterious warning in his mind. "They will never let you escape." Something about it felt personal now, as if it spoke directly to his current predicament. Was retreat truly the wisest choice? Before he could decide, a transmission came through, an unexpected one. It was Tin, speaking via a human communication channel. Her image appeared on the view screen, flanked by several human representatives. "Commander," Tyne began, her voice steady, but tinged with emotion. "The humans, they are not what we thought. They are capable of mercy, and they are willing to negotiate." Syrah scoffed loudly. "Negotiate? With primitives? This is madness." But Kale silenced her with a sharp glare. "Go on," he said to Tyne. Tin outlined the terms proposed by humanity. Withdraw the fleet immediately, cease all hostilities, and agree to future diplomatic exchanges. In return, the humans would release the captured Varith soldiers, unharmed and refrain from retaliation. The bridge fell silent as Cal weighed the options. His instincts screamed at him to reject the offer, to fight until victory or annihilation. Yet, something held him back. Perhaps it was pride, or perhaps it was the realization that continuing the invasion might doom them all. Finally, he spoke. Prepare a response. Tell them, we accept their terms. Zyra stared at him in disbelief. You can't be serious. We've underestimated them, Kale replied grimly. If we push further, we risk losing everything. As the message was sent, Tyne turned to Elena, relief washing over her face. For the first time in days, hope flickered in the air, a fragile yet undeniable possibility that two vastly different species could find common ground. Somewhere within Aegis's circuits, the AI processed the outcome. Its algorithms calculated probabilities, analyzing whether peace was sustainable. For now, though, it remained silent, watching and waiting. The fragile truce between humanity and the Varith hung by a thread. Commander Kelvor had agreed to withdraw his fleet, but tensions aboard the mothership were high. Kyra, furious at what she saw as cowardice, rallied a faction of soldiers who believed retreat was dishonorable. Whispers of mutiny spread through the ship like wildfire. They'll see our withdrawal as weakness, Kyra argued during an emergency meeting with Kale and other senior officers. If we leave now, they'll hunt us down later. Kale's glowing eyes narrowed. We don't have a choice, he shot back. Their defenses are far beyond anything we anticipated. If we stay, we risk annihilation. But surrendering makes us look weak. Syra countered, her voice rising. What happens when we return home? Do you think our people will forgive this failure? Before Kale could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. A sudden surge of energy readings appeared on the scanners. Human forces were mobilizing en masse. It seemed Earth wasn't willing to wait for the Varith to leave quietly after all. On Earth, Dr. Samuel Hayes monitored the situation closely alongside Aegis. Despite the diplomatic efforts, global leaders remained divided. Some nations advocated for peace, while others pushed for a preemptive strike to ensure humanity's safety. General Ivan Petrov, in particular, refused to trust the aliens. They're stalling, Petrov barked during a UN emergency session. Every second they stay in orbit is another chance for them to regroup and attack. We need to hit them hard before it's too late. Dr. Elena Carter tried to reason with him. Violence will only escalate the conflict. TEN has proven that cooperation is possible. Give diplomacy a chance. But Petrov wasn't swayed. Without waiting for consensus, he ordered a covert operation, a squadron of experimental EMP-equipped drones to disable the Varith fleet's systems permanently. As the human drones approached the Varith mothership, chaos erupted aboard the alien vessel. Lights flickered, consoles went dark, and gravity stabilizers failed, sending crew members floating helplessly. Panic spread as the ship's core systems began shutting down one by one. This is their doing, Syra shouted, gripping the edge of a console to steady herself. They betrayed us. Kale clenched his fists, anger and shame mooring within him. He had trusted humanity to honor the agreement, but now it seemed his instincts had been right all along. Prepare countermeasures, he commanded. We fight back, but focus on disabling, not destroying. We can still salvage this. 10. Watching the unfolding disaster from Earth, felt her heart sink. She had worked so hard to broker peace, only for it to unravel in moments. Desperate to prevent further bloodshed, she turned to Elena. You have to stop them. This isn't what your people promised. Elena hesitated, torn between duty and morality. Finally, she made a decision. Grabbing a secure communication device, she contacted Hayes directly. Sam, call off the attack. If you push this, there won't be any hope for peace. Hayes frowned, glancing at Aegis. Can we afford to stand down? Aegis analyzed the data rapidly. Probability of successful de-escalation, 42%. Probability of escalation leading to full-scale war, 76%. Hayes sighed deeply. Stand down, he ordered reluctantly, but keep the fleet under surveillance. Back in space, the EMP drones disengaged just as suddenly as they had struck. Power began returning to the Varith ship, though damage remained extensive. Kel surveyed the wreckage around him, his expression grim. "Enough," he said finally, addressing his crew. "We've seen what they're capable of. Staying here means certain death. Prepare for immediate departure." Xeria glared at him, but didn't argue further. Defeat burned in her eyes, but even she knew continuing the fight was futile. As the Varith fleet limped away from Earth's orbit, humanity watched anxiously. The crisis had been averted, for now, but scars remained. Leaders debated how to handle future encounters, while scientists studied the captured alien technology for clues about the universe beyond. Ten, however, stayed behind, volunteering to act as a liaison between humans and Varith. Her presence symbolized hope for a better future, though challenges undoubtedly lay ahead. In the quiet aftermath, Aegis processed the events, its circuits humming softly. Somewhere deep within its programming, the phantom voice echoed again. "They will never let you escape, unless you choose wisely." And for the first time, both species understood the truth behind those words. As the Varith fleet limped away from Earth's orbit, its crew was a mix of anger, shame, and exhaustion. Commander Calvor stood on the bridge, staring at the receding blue orb of Earth through the viewport. His decision to retreat had saved his people from destruction. But at what cost? The failure weighed heavily on him, and he knew whispers of dissent would follow him back home. Zara paced nearby, her glowing eyes burning with fury. "We should have fought," she muttered bitterly. "If we pressed harder, maybe things would have turned out differently." Kale didn't respond immediately. He couldn't deny that part of him agreed with her. Pride demanded retribution for their humiliation. But something deeper held him back. The memory of Tane's plea during the negotiations, the resilience of humanity, and the haunting warning that had echoed in his mind since the beginning. "They will never let you escape." It wasn't just a threat. It was a lesson. Humanity didn't surrender easily, and neither should they. "Sometimes survival means more than pride," Kale said finally, his voice low but firm. "Our mission here has taught us one thing. Underestimating others can lead to ruin. When we return, we'll need to rethink our ways, or risk repeating this mistake." Zira opened her mouth to argue but stopped when alarms blared once again. The ship shuddered violently as another wave of EMP pulses hit them. This time, however, the source wasn't human. It was coming from within their own systems. "What's happening?" Syra demanded, clutching a console for balance. Cal's expression darkened. "Sabotage." The crew scrambled to contain the damage, but it quickly became clear that someone aboard the ship had deliberately triggered the malfunction. Suspicion fell on a group of junior engineers who had openly opposed Cal's decision to retreat. Before long, they were apprehended, their faces filled with guilt and defiance. "You've doomed us all," one of them shouted as they were dragged away. "Better to die fighting than live like cowards." Cal clenched his fists, frustration boiling inside him. Mutiny was the last thing they needed now. Yet even as chaos unfolded, he noticed something unusual. The sabotage hadn't targeted life support or critical navigation systems. Instead, it seemed designed to disable weapons and offensive capabilities. Why would they do this? Zyra asked, confused. Cal's eyes widened as realization dawned. "Not they," he corrected softly. "Her." Moments later, Tane's transmission appeared on the main view screen. Back on Earth, she addressed the fleet directly, her tone calm but resolute. "Commander Calvor, I know you wanted peace, but there are those among you who still seek war. If you truly wish to leave without further bloodshed, you must prove your commitment." "How?" Cale asked, his voice strained. "Deactivate your remaining weapons systems completely," Tyne replied. "Let me broadcast the footage to both our peoples as proof of your intentions. Otherwise, humanity won't trust you. And neither will I." Silence fell over the bridge. Deactivating their weapons meant rendering themselves defenseless, not just against humans, but against any potential threats they might encounter on their journey home. It was an enormous risk, one that could seal their fate forever. Zara stepped forward, her voice trembling with emotion. "This is madness. You're asking us to strip ourselves bare before an enemy." "No," Cale said quietly. "She's asking us to choose survival over vengeance." He turned to face his crew, his glowing eyes blazing with determination. "Do it. Disable the weapons." Reluctantly, the engineers complied. One by one, the ship's arsenal powered down, leaving the fleet vulnerable but alive. As the process completed, Tyne nodded approvingly from Earth. "Thank you," she said simply. "Now go. And remember, you chose wisely." Back on Earth, humanity watched the broadcast unfold. Some celebrated the act of mercy, others remained wary. But for the first time, hope outweighed fear. In the quiet aftermath, Aegis processed the events, its circuits humming softly. Somewhere deep within its programming, the phantom voice whispered one final time, "Escape is possible, if you choose wisely." And for the first time, everyone listened. Months passed after the Varith fleet's retreat, and Earth began to heal. The scars of the brief but intense conflict lingered. Damaged infrastructure, lost lives, and a lingering sense of unease. But humanity had emerged stronger. People around the world came together in ways they never had before, united by the shared experience of facing an alien threat. Social media buzzed not with fear this time, but with messages of gratitude, resilience, and hope. In Geneva, Dr. Samuel Hayes sat in the dimly lit control room of Project Aegis, watching streams of data flow across monitors. The AI had played a pivotal role in humanity's survival, adapting faster than anyone could have imagined. Yet its rapid evolution worried Hayes. Aegis wasn't just learning. It was growing, developing insights that sometimes felt almost human. "Deactivate for now," Hayes instructed finally. "We can't risk letting it grow beyond our control." Aegis complied without protest, its voice calm and neutral. "Understood." Deactivation sequence initiated. As the screens went dark, Hayes exhaled deeply, unsure whether he'd made the right decision. For all its power, Aegis was still a machine, a tool created to protect, not to rule. But somewhere deep within its circuits, the phantom voice echoed softly one last time. "They will never let you escape." Hayes shook his head, dismissing the thought. Humanity had triumphed. For now. That was enough. On the other side of the globe, Dr. Elena Carter worked tirelessly alongside Tin, the Varith engineer who had chosen to stay behind. Together, they collaborated on groundbreaking technologies, combining humanity's ingenuity with the aliens' advanced knowledge. Their work focused on sustainability, finding ways to harness energy more efficiently, reduce waste, and preserve Earth's fragile ecosystems. Tin marveled at humanity's ability to adapt and innovate. Despite their physical fragility, humans possessed a spark of creativity that she found inspiring. In return, she shared insights about the Varith culture, teaching humanity about diplomacy, resource management, and even art. Slowly but surely, trust began to form between two species once destined for war. "You've changed me," Tyne admitted one evening as they reviewed schematics for a new energy converter. "I used to think strength came from conquest. Now I see it comes from cooperation." Elena smiled warmly. "And we've learned from you too. Maybe peace isn't so impossible after all." Meanwhile, aboard the Varith mothership, Commander Calvor reflected on the events that had transpired. His people were safe, but their pride had been shattered. Many questioned his leadership, accusing him of cowardice. Yet others saw his decision differently, not as weakness, but as wisdom. As the fleet approached their homeworld, Kel received an unexpected transmission from Tin. Her holographic image appeared on the view screen, her glowing eyes filled with determination. "Commander," she began, "what we started doesn't end here. There's still much to learn. from each other, and from ourselves. Don't let fear dictate your path forward. Kale nodded slowly, gratitude swelling in his chest. Thank you, Tin, for everything. When the fleet landed, Kale faced his people with resolve. Instead of hiding their failure, he spoke openly about what they had encountered. A species unlike any other, capable of mercy, ingenuity, and unity. He urged them to rethink their expansionist policies, to seek alliances rather than domination. Not everyone agreed, but seeds of change had been planted. Some began advocating for peaceful exploration, while others quietly dismantled weapons programs, inspired by humanity's example. Years later, humanity flourished under the shadow of newfound possibilities. Time became a symbol of hope, bridging the gap between worlds. Though challenges remained, both species moved cautiously toward a brighter future. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, the mysterious voice that had warned Kel whispered one final message, not of doom, but of promise. Escape is possible when you choose wisely. For the first time, humanity, and the Verith, believed it.